and I remember just being around those people too. I mean, as a very young person and naive person, and you know, you're unsure of yourself, to be in their presence. I don't know. I think you also become. It builds your self-esteem too, because then when you go back to your own friends and you tell them that you've just been hanging out all day with Susan Lucci or Bruce Willis, it's kind of like, wow, can I touch you?
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things, paparazzi was not that big a deal then at the time, was it?
No, it was.
It was, really?
There were a lot of premiere parties. There were always events going on around the city, and even with different movies that were premiering, if our firm weren't the ones that were handling the PR, our firm also handled a whole roster of celebrities. So another company might call us and say, look, we want to invite these individuals to our party. And sometimes they would go to these, but then, you know, somebody on our team would go with them. Because as soon as you'd walk into a premiere party like that, you know, the New York Post, the Times, I mean, People Magazine, all those publications were there. So, I mean, all those, you know, when you're flipping through the People Magazine, you know, this premiere party, that premiere, that's where they're all taken, those types of events.
So are they invited at that time? Were they invited, or were like they just showing up? You mean kind of the word got out that this party, these famous people are going to be here, and the paparazzi showed up, or was it kind of like, we need to have paparazzi here, which is the bane, I think, of being a famous person's existence. It's like you want to have your privacy, but you really expose yourself out there, so now you have people following you.
It kind of works both ways, because when you think about it, when we would hold a premiere party, we would want to invite as many celebrities to the party, because then it's going to get more press because they were there, okay? And on the flip side, the celebrity wants to go to some parties because then they are going to receive press because they were there. So it kind of works for both of them, you know, unless you get to a certain level, like, you know, Sylvester Stallone, Paul McCartney, they were clients too, but, you know, those guys don't need to go to, you know, Baby Boom premieres and stuff to attain, you know,
to be seen, yes.
To be seen. But we also worked with a whole roster of celebrities at the time that weren't very well known. Like, I was handed, get this, Jason Alexander, okay, his account, and trying to get him publicity, okay?
Oh, interesting.
He was a nobody back then, and he was doing some ridiculous show called Everything's Relative or something. It was some family sitcom or something, and it was just a disaster. Nobody wanted to interview him. And now he was like the sidekick of Seinfeld, you know? I don't know, Dylan McDermott, he was another client. I know he hasn't become that famous, but, you know, he was another one. Robin Gibbons was another one. These were all like the B-class crowd. And then slowly, you know, after I left, then they all kind of became quite, well-known.
So their success is really attributed to you.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, I worked very hard trying to get them press. And 9 times out of 10, any of the press that I called, they didn't want to meet them.
Okay, so you have experience doing that. Share with us a couple great tips for getting press or media attention.
For my business, or just
your business,
in general?
Or anybody in general, maybe. Yeah.
Well, let's see. That's a hard one to say, because I mean, I can't think of an example right now, other than, I mean, you know, if I worked in a celebrity PR firm and I was friends with Paris Hilton, I mean, you know, I could get press anyway.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe we can think of an example of that as we're heading into this.
Okay,
yeah.
But keep that in mind, because I think that, because if you're dealing with somebody who's a B client, and you've got to get media attention, so how do you do that? So.
Well, okay, I just thought of one thing. Last year there was an article in the Washington Post. It was on the cover of the style section about Twittering and texting, and how there's a lot of disconnect with individuals in finding love. And so I happened to be that day, and I didn't even read the article yet, I happened to be over at the WUSA Channel 9, and I was doing an interview on a budget, how to date on a budget. And the gal that was the anchor was asking me questions about it, and at the very end she said, did you see the cover of the style section today about how people are texting and twittering and all this, and they're not meeting anybody? And I felt stupid because I didn't read the article yet. And I said, well, I can just say from my experience that I do encounter a lot of clients that want to text rather than just pick up the darn phone and talk to one another. So I went home, saw the article, and so I thought, well, here's an opportunity that I can turn and twist into a PR type of thing. So the gal that works with me, I said, let's put together a press release on this and refer to it and how our experiences are, and then provide tips. So, I mean,
That's
the
great.
press love tips. So any of you that are an expert of whatever you do, if you can come up with a list of tips, 5, 10 tips of whatever the thing might be, I mean, that's always helpful to, you know, pique the interest of
That
somebody.
is the tip of the day, is share tips. That's a
Yeah.
great suggestion. I love that. So when you're trying to get a little press or media, okay, girls out there who've got your business, get there and start sharing tips. That's brilliant. That was a brilliant, brilliant suggestion. I love that.
Yeah, so with that press release, we went ahead and contacted the networks around here in Washington, and Channel 7 actually did a piece with all of that. So yeah, I did that on my own, and it was funny because I was putting together a press release just from what I had learned from way, way back then.
So let's take a step back. So you went to college, studied PR. You'd been a model. Then you stepped out for a couple of years. You're still probably modeling on the side, but learning PR. So, and then I guess at the end of that 2-year stint, you decided to make modeling your career and really head into that for?
Yes, I mean, I made the decision that I couldn't afford to live anymore. I was living with my parents, you know, I was commuting into the city. I was basically walking a mile because I couldn't afford the subway with this job that I had. So, and the little rinky-dink jobs that I was doing modeling on the side, just to kind of help the overhead. This was now the latter 80s. So, you know, we were, remember there was like a rise with everything in the economy was kind of rocking and rolling before the crash of whatever it was, 1991.
Right.
So everybody was flush with cash, at least in the fashion industry. And all of my girlfriends who were still modeling were telling me how they were working this job, working that job, and they were telling me one job one day, and then this was like a whole week of what I had to get at the PR firm. So I finally thought, you know, this was a fun stint. I got to meet all these people. The parties were great and all that, and I did learn a lot of skills. However, I need to start, you know, getting out on my own, you know, and moving away from my parents and making money. So I decided to leave the PR firm and really full-heartedly go into modeling and give it 100%. So that's what I did. And again, leap of faith, but I knew that if I really worked hard at it, got my book together, and you know, pounded the pavement and looked for work, I would get it. And slowly it turned to my favor. And you know, it took about a year to finally get the accounts, but I started to really work. And then at that point, I worked straight through for 12 years. And towards the end, I was so busy that a lot of the work that I was getting, I was then referring to other models that were younger than me or friends of mine, and then I was taking, you know, commission off whatever referrals I was getting. So I had this whole other side of like modeling referral.
Oh, you were an
agency.
entrepreneur no matter what you were doing. That was pretty smart. That was very smart.
So
Referring gigs and getting commission. I like that. I like that. That was very smart of you to do.
yeah. it's
So
fun.
I know a lot of people are really interested, and this is the month of love. It's February. We've just passed Valentine's Day, but it's really we've just passed Snow Day. I've never seen so much snow in my life, but we wanted to celebrate the month of love. And what was so fascinating when we met was to learn what you do. I mean, and you learn a lot of businesses, but in my experiences, and we have, and I don't know if it's, I would attribute it to probably a cultural phenomenon. A lot of people are single, and we're finding now as we get into this age group, we have a lot of people who are single, men and women, and they're always interested in connecting with other people.